find a fund and find a student attached to it that benefited, and then send their quick little video to a bunch of donors attached to it. And if you make that an annual thing, you'll be surprised at, how much donors are going to love that.
Welcome to the EverTrue Innovators podcast, where we meet the innovative voices behind the ideas moving fundraising forward.
Hello, and welcome to the Innovators podcast by EverTrue. I'm Hannah Davis, joined by Keith and Madeline, my co-hosts and Mahjong partners for life. All right, I want to start with a question. What if personalized stewardship didn't have to be hard to scale?
That is kind of the dream.
Yeah, because most teams assume personalization equals more time, more people, and more effort.
Exactly, but North Dakota took a totally different approach. They built a repeatable system for recruiting students and deploying videos across key moments like Giving Day and stewardship.
Let's get into how the University of North Dakota turned student storytelling into a scalable strategy for personalized donor engagement.
Thank you so much again for joining us, and congratulations on being a 2026 Innovator. We would love if you could introduce both of yourselves and tell us a little bit about your roles at the University of North Dakota.
Yeah, I'll start. Thanks, Hannah and Madeline. This is an absolute pleasure. So I'm Jen Lukens. I am the Director of Stewardship and Donor Appreciation at the UND Alumni Association and Foundation. And UND stands for University of North Dakota. So we're in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And there's the campus has about 15,800 students, about 9 different units or colleges that students can be enrolled in. And our foundation is like the fundraising arm or branch of the university. So Chad and I work on a team. There's more than 68 or about 68, 70 staff members, a part of our foundation, but we're on the marketing communications team. And we're a subset of that team. We're in the stewardship sub-department, really. So there's 3 of us on the stewardship team, but my role as the director of it just brings together how we can spread gratitude and impact in a streamlined, strategic, programmatic way that is personalized, but then also is reaching the masses. I'll let Chad introduce himself.
Yeah, and I'm Chad O'Shea. Also, nice to see you both on here, and thank you for having us on. I'm the Associate Director of Stewardship Communication here on our stewardship team at UND Alumni. I guess my role is more of, when I was first hired, it was kind of more of a writing role, kind of impact reporting, and ThankView was kind of the piece that we've had as a platform when I was hired on. But as I kind of got more involved in my role in the last couple of years, especially, then the video piece came more into play. And now more and more, it's taking on more of that. How do we visualize impact, especially using students, and a lot of real examples of impact. So, a lot of our stewardship programs in general, as a 3-person team here on our stewardship team, a lot of our projects and initiatives are becoming kind of more student focused, but really our goal with everything we do, and especially with what I do with video and impact reporting and all those things, is just more what are specific examples of how donors are making a difference. It's nice to give them a thank you message and kind of, in general, show them how they're appreciated, but I'm more excited in the element of, showing them exactly how they're making a difference and, trying to personalize it as much as we can. We can't do that everywhere because it takes a lot of work, but whenever we can, that's kind of the highlight of my role, is just showing impact in unique and creative ways. So, yeah.
And Chad spearheads the our ThankView program really in this tool, which has been phenomenal. So he's the mastermind behind a lot of the videos that we do and thank-yous or thank-views that we produce. So shout out Chad. He's doing an awesome job.
Thank you. Thanks, boss.
Yeah.
Chad, you mentioned visualizing impact and scaling donor stewardship. And I think that's the perfect segue into wondering how you did that and how it got brought to life. I know there's a lot of hesitation into incorporating students into these programs because it's not seen as scalable. But your team, with a team of just three people, built something that was repeatable. So, talk about how this idea came together. What gave you confidence that this could work? Give us the scoop.
Yeah, I'll kind of start with the piece that Jen mentioned earlier, where, we're kind of a separate entity from the University of North Dakota as a whole, so we kind of work in different ways. The big piece that has really opened the doors for this for us is just building strong connections with our campus partners within each college. So our school, um, maybe not every college is like this, but within each college, there's usually one or two, or maybe a small team that's kind of focused on alumni relations within their college. So we have like a monthly campus partners meeting with each unit to kind of touch base on what's going on around campus. And then in between, then like we work together on a lot of different projects and kind of keep in the loop on what's going on as a whole around the university. But building that connection has helped us to where um, they know the students best. So we're able to rely on that relationship to kind of figure out who some of those standout students are in each of their areas, who are students that are doing great things or more friendly, more approachable, more willing to do extra things outside of the classroom to show appreciation or be involved in marketing pieces. So that's a big piece of it. Um, I think another piece too that makes students so willing here is our campus in general just has a really great culture that recognizes accomplishments, whether that's um, our the marketing team at UND. It's a separate marketing team from ours. They have a bunch of things like UND Today, and they do a lot of great work on social media and a lot of other ways that they showcase leaders in action. So they very frequently spotlight individual students doing great things on campus. There's also, not even just students, like faculty and staff, like um, there are different publications or a lot of different things the university does. If you do great work on campus or if you do something great out in the real world, odds are that, our campus is going to shout about it and brag about you and, really lift you up. Um, so I think that just kind of gives the impression that our students know that when they do great things, they'll be recognized or someone will notice. And I think in turn, it just makes it easier to connect with some of those more high achieving students because when you reach out to them and ask them to participate in a marketing initiative or a promotional piece or a impact video, like they're absolutely willing to do it because yes, they're doing us a favor because they're helping us communicate impact to a donor, but it's also their chance to kind of share their story and kind of feel proud about what they're doing as well. So that's really what it's all about for us as far as like scalability and knowing that we can trust our students to help us with this, because at the end of the day, we kind of frame it in a way of wanting to help you share your story type of thing. That was a long answer, but hopefully that covered a lot of your
No, that
bases.
was great. Because one of the other questions we were going to ask too is kind of how you recruit students across campus, but I think that was an all-encompassing answer too of the approach of why you felt confident it could work is also in the way that you were doing recruiting, right? Is what I was hearing there of that collaboration across campus, which I think is really, really important. Can you kind of on a tactical level, so you have the students recruited and you have them engaged. Can you walk us through your workflow of, collecting, managing these videos? What does that process kind of look like from start to finish? And how do you manage all of those students that want to participate?
Yeah, so once we kind of identify the student that we want to feature for a certain fund or project or whatever we're working on, we um, simply just reach out to that student, obviously by email first. Um, we don't necessarily throw everything at them all at once. So we'll kind of throw a general message their way of saying, hey, we're from the Alumni Association. we have this really cool um, donor project we're working on, and we saw that you benefited from it. Would you be willing to just do a quick video of gratitude for us? And then give them kind of an easy out too of just like lowering the pressure of like, if you're not interested, no big deal. We'll find someone else. That way it kind of lessens the chance of being ghosted and, repetitively emailing them, hoping for a response. Um, but a lot of times they do respond to us and they're more than willing to do it. So once we get that response, then that kind of follow up is where we'll give them more instructions of here's the link to submit your video. And then on that page, there's instructions of questions to answer and what we're looking for when you create your video. Um, and when we give them the instructions, we kind of leave it pretty open-ended. Obviously, there's certain questions we want them to answer or kind of elements we want them to include. So we kind of emphasize that. But then we make sure to kind of tell them, like, frame it how you want to frame it. And if we don't get every single piece we're looking for, not the end of the world. The main thing we're looking for is just gratitude and talk about how it's making a difference for you. And that looks different for every student too. Some people, maybe it's helping a lot and it's paying their whole semester of tuition. Other students, maybe it's only buying a few textbooks. It's a little different based on the scholarship fund. But um, once we get that video submitted back to us, um, it's pretty simple from there. If it's just one student we're waiting on a video for, get that. We pretty much just use that video and um, implement it into our thank you campaign, attach the donor contact info, send it off. We're good to go.
I love that too. I think there's this underlying benefit to that as well of being for the students being able to speak just from their own perspective on how this benefits them. It helps them really understand fully, like, this is the impact of philanthropy on my life by not having it be fully scripted. And instead, there's the duality of the donor is able to see how they're having a direct impact on the student's life, but at the same time, the student has that not reassurance, but more understanding of this is exactly what philanthropy is doing to help me, and being able to communicate that. So,
Mhm. And just to interject, there have been some students who have gone above and beyond just having a video recording of themselves in their bedroom or their office. We've received some that are just incredible. One in particular, and maybe you're going to share this, Chad, but if you don't mind, we can talk about it. He
Go
was
for it.
filming him, someone else was filming him in a warehouse, a family business that he is a part of. So he's a recent graduate, I believe. And he walked through the warehouse showing the donors what he was doing in entrepreneurship, because that's a focus of the donor gifts, and just thanking them by name for how they have supported his endeavors. And then he included his own effects in it, and it was a fantastic video and went over really well with the donors. And so to not sell them short, to have high expectations, because you never know what you're going to get. And in that instance, it was also working with student leaders. So a lot of the students that we're working with or requesting are of high caliber and are stars on campus as well. So they'll go above and beyond, and they know how to make an impact through their words. So that was pretty cool. And also, one other tip is texting. So if you're not able to get a hold of a student, we've texted many students and they respond quickly. But then that is having a close relationship with our campus partners in finance and the people who hold that information, who are willing to give that to us, knowing that we're just going to use it for good purposes. But texting is a winner with students.
That's great advice. And I love the example that you just shared. And I think to continue on that thread, I know that your team has used student videos across various campaigns like giving days, scholarship, stewardship, event follow up. Are there any other examples that you two would share that really stand out to you? And what about those examples stand out? Why did they work?
Um, yeah, well, lots of them stand out because I preparing for this, I like looked at all of our campaigns and like those are all good. I can't really pick favorites, but um, one good one that we recently did is for like our annual Giving Day, like you mentioned. So in this region here in North Dakota, there's a general Giving Day called Giving Hearts Day that we participate in. So it's not our Giving Day necessarily. We're just one of hundreds of different charities that participate on that day. Um, but every year we do like a student thank you video to everyone who gives on this day. And it usually comes across pretty well. The most recent one we did um, is kind of my favorite example because we, so a few months earlier, we brought these students in for the interview with this thank you video in mind. But as a part of that interview, we're also multitasking because our annual giving team can use their answers in the interview for framing their mailers and using their quotes for asking for donations and the promotional materials, things like that. Um, so before the giving day, you're seeing their faces, you're getting quotes from them, you're hearing a little bit about their stories. Then the giving day comes, you give your gift, whatever it is. And then after that, you get an email with a video of each of these students kind of talking more in depth about why they love UND, what donor support has meant to them, how scholarships impact them, things like that. Um, so that's kind of our easiest example there of like an annual thing that we do where, and this year was probably our more highly produced one where each student, we just kind of went to an area on campus that's relevant to them. So we had a football player, so we went to the football facility. We had a nursing student, so we went to a nursing lab and interviewed her there. We had a business student, so we went to the business school and interviewed her there. And it just kind of three different examples. So it doesn't matter where you give to, you kind of get the sense that it doesn't matter what fund you give to, like the overall impression from students is the same, that it's making a difference in similar ways. Um, and then the other ones that stand out is with scholarship ceremonies. So that's another big piece that we've had where our campus partners within each unit usually plan their own scholarship ceremonies every year. And if anyone is listening to this that, is looking for easy ways to steward some of your scholarship donors, like check out what scholarship ceremonies are going on because odds are your sub colleges may already be having an annual event. And in our case, we just work with our campus partners where it's like, hey, can we just show up there with the camera, get some clips of it, and maybe talk to a couple of students, have them say some thank you messages, and then send it to scholarship donors. More likely than not, they're easily going to let you do that because they want to make sure their alumni and donors feel good. So we've done a few of those where I go there with a camera. And usually I'll ask partners ahead of time of like, hey, while I'm there, do you have like a handful of students in mind that like would be willing to just get in front of a camera for a minute, answer a couple questions and put some quotes together? So we have a few examples of those where it just turns out really nice where you show a little bit of the speakers and just the overall vibe of that scholarship ceremony. So the donors that couldn't be there can get a sense that this college does care about their support because they host events and it's a big deal for students because they're being recognized for being um, awarded scholarships, and then you're just including nice quotes of gratitude from students too. And it's a great environment to get quotes from students because odds are they're in a pretty good mood because they're there and they're being recognized. Um, so it's hard to not get student participation when you're approaching them in a environment where they feel good and they're actively socializing with other students and staff members. So you're just another staff member walking up to them and chatting them up and asking questions, things like that too. So those are a couple examples that stand out to me as like some of our more impactful campaigns we do, but there's lots others and I just have to pick a couple to not make this a day-long podcast. So
We could do another episode for each.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of talking about the impact that some of the campaigns that you run have had, what do you feel you've learned resonates most with donors in these videos? And on the other side of that, is there anything that maybe didn't work as well as expected and had you kind of shift focus back to what you've learned has?
Mm.
Yeah, I think what resonates most is, I think I kind of touched on it earlier, is when it's more personalized, it connects a lot more because um I was talking to Jen about this, but I just kind of like put yourself in the donor's shoes. Like if you gave to a scholarship fund, would you rather receive a general thank you message that's not necessarily specific to what you gave? Or would you rather hear from someone specifically who benefited from what you gave to? I think we all would say, let's hear from a specific person that we supported. So I think using those specific examples connects with them the most. Um, and it really just gives the donors more connectivity to the campus because a lot of donors don't live in this area. They might live across the country. They might not have been back to campus since the 70s or the 80s or when they graduated. Um, but seeing kind of these stories kind of gives them a portal into here's what UND looks like right now. Um, and here's the type of stories that you're specifically influencing. Um, so it's really just about seeing the people that are benefiting the most from what you're giving to. And then that just makes the donors feel recognized and appreciated and more affinity for the university, which in turn leads to more desire to keep giving and keep staying connected with your university at the end of the day. Um, and then what doesn't work the most, um, it kind of goes back to just too many instructions. Like I kind of want to stress that part is um, when you do try to get student participation and things like that, like just keep it simple. You don't need this highly produced video production, although some of the videos we do are a little higher produced, and we do some video projects outside of ThankView, like for our YouTube channels and things like that, that are a little more high end and higher produced. But when you're doing things like personalized stewardship, like these types of campaigns we're talking about, like just keep it simple, get student quotes, get just the the basic messages you're trying to get across however you can and use it and roll with it. Um, the more questions you give students to answer, the more specific instructions you tell them of use a tripod, use adequate lighting, use make sure you answer all these questions. Don't read from a script. Look at the lens the whole time. Like I just I used to have more detailed instructions in there, and sometimes they're kind of at the end in the fine print because as a video guy, I'm like, yes, please look at the lens, use good lighting, like
That's when you
record
got ghosted.
horizontally. Yeah, that adds to the ghosting because like you just start to intimidate them at that point. And a lot of people in general are just afraid to be on video. Like outside of here, I do sports broadcasting too, so I'm on camera a decent amount myself. I hate being on video. I don't like watching myself. I don't like listening to myself. So I can only imagine people who like are never in front of a camera, how scared they are. So, like I said, just keep it simple. Keep the instructions to only the essentials of what you're looking for from what you need from them. And most of the time, the results will be more than good enough to send along and use. So,
Mm. And just to add to that too, if I may, there's um, one fund in particular that we highlight every year. It's called our Angel Fund, and it was really resurrected during COVID. And it's a way to help students out for any particular reason. They have to apply for it, and there's just a pool of money coming in from donors and then going out to these students who qualify. And we like to do a video feature. So it's a little bit more highly produced. Chad's behind the camera and we have interview questions and we tell their story. But it's a sensitive topic. And so if you have something along a more sensitive line, then as Chad was saying, giving them an out if it's something they feel uncomfortable with, we found is a really important step. And then making sure that they are comfortable sharing their story on camera. But that's something that we've implemented, sending to a broad donor base. So they're coming from all over the place. These donors from every unit they might have affinity for, but they're giving to the Angel Fund. And so that is a well-received video that we send out through the ThankView platform. And I think too, just hitting on the fact that students get a bad rap for not being thankful enough and not showing gratitude in the traditional ways that their donors maybe are used to. But the thing is, they are grateful. They just need a time and a place and maybe a method to show their gratitude. So this is what we're trying to do for them and then for donors alike. And it also is kind of a tag on to an event that we run each fall called Notes from the Nest, where we're allowing, again, a time and a place for students to come write thank you notes. So it's a different medium of being able to express their gratitude. And maybe someday we'll include a thank you link because there's that one-to-one video feature where you can send that out, So we've dabbled with that idea. In the future, this would be a really great way to do it. So you all have an endless amount of ways that we could be using this platform, and we know it. So these are just a few of the ways that we found that resonate well with donors. But yeah, it's been really fun to explore. And the other thing I'll say too is our stewardship team really owns this platform. We know a lot of other universities, development officers are using it and sending messages to donors. But we found that as far as maybe our advancement team or others aren't as comfortable on video, Chad is clearly comfortable on video and can really take this platform and make it our own in a way that's benefiting donors. And that's what we've seen. So thank you guys.
Of course. And I think the point that you made about giving students the opportunity and medium by which to show their gratitude is so important. And so for any advice, and y'all have offered a lot, but any closing thoughts or advice for other institutions that are looking for ways and opportunities to provide students with those channels of gratitude, how might they get started? Any advice or things to look out for or to that you've tried and tested that you would say skip this? Yeah, anything you'd pass along?
Yeah, I think my advice of something to try if you're looking to start getting more video or students involved is, and it's probably easier said than done at certain places. Some places might find it easier to find scholarship recipient info than others. Um, I just think, think of like one or two popular scholarship funds at your university that has a lot of donor support. Um, Make it an annual thing where you reach out to one recipient, have them send in a video, and then you send that video to all those donors who supported that fund this year. And a simple message along with it. It really doesn't take a lot of time, and it's just a matter of connecting with one student who I'm sure if you send them some instructions on questions to answer, they'll impress you with what they send back. Um, and again, doesn't have to be highly produced. You don't have to have any video expertise whatsoever, especially if you're sending them a video to submit or a link to submit. But that's an easily repeatable starting point where you can take a scholarship fund, find a scholarship recipient, whether you have access to that info or you work with a campus partner in that college who can point you to a rock star student to go in front of a camera and send something in. And then you just pull the donor list and load it into your campaign and send that video off. It really doesn't take too much work to do something like that. And that's something that's repeatable, like I said, for any type of scholarship fund. So it's really just, identify some of those, whether you want to start with a bigger fund or maybe it's you want to do something one-on-one to a donor. Maybe you have a really huge donor that hasn't been stewarded enough in the last few years and you really want to do something special to them. So you want to go above and beyond. You want to send 5 students video links and hope for the best and do a really cool thing. You can do that individually too. We have some one-on-one things we do for some of our bigger donors where, maybe they have 10 different scholarship recipients this year. And we just send a link to a few and usually a few send them back. And then we just merge them together and say, here's your 7-minute video of gratitude from 3 different students. So yeah, find a fund and find a student attached to it that benefited, and then send their quick little video to a bunch of donors attached to it. And if you make that an annual thing, you'll be surprised at, how much donors are going to love that. So, yeah.
Mhm. And two, to add to that, Chad's talking about a specific strategy that we have is called personal stewardship plans, and that takes partnership with our advancement team. So our development officers, we sit down with them and have the past few years sat down once a year and identified those donors who do need some extra stewardship attention. And this is just a really practical, tangible tool to be able to say, hey, we've got something for you. As long as we have the scholarship recipient names, then we can get them on video saying thank you to this donor who needs some extra love. So that's another strategy to help.
Seems like get started, just try it out, and then also lean on your colleagues across departments maybe to kind of make this a collaborative effort. It's kind of the two main takeaways, and I think it's very, very good advice. I'm thinking about how, so I forget if I shared this when we met last time, but I also worked on a Marcom team that was within a foundation. So I was hybrid annual giving and marketing. And so a lot of the things that you've been sharing are things that I remember being tasked with also kind of figuring out a little bit as well. And to that end, I just know that this is going to be really helpful because you've laid out such a good blueprint and foundation for folks who are trying to crack this really tough code and maybe need just some inspiration to get started and build out a program like this. So, thank you very much for taking the time to explain this story on this podcast. And we're very excited for everyone to keep learning from you all for the rest of this year.